M14 rifle. Designed in the early 1950s and adopted in 1957, the 7.62 by 51 mm NATO M14 was intended to replace several U.S. small arms at once: the M1 Garand, M1 M2 carbines, the M3 submachine gun, and even the BAR in some roles. It retained Garand architecture, gas-operated with a rotating bolt, but adopted a 20-round detachable box magazine and selective fire. In practice, the rifle's weight and recoil limited controllable automatic fire, and jungle warfare in Vietnam favored lighter 5.56 mm weapons. By 1967, the M16 had superseded it in frontline issue. Even so, the M14 endured as a designated marksman and ceremonial rifle, a role helped by its intrinsic accuracy and .30 caliber energy. Variants proliferated. The M21 and M25 sniper systems built on accurized M14 actions. Later, chassis-based conversions. Eventually, the Mark 14 enhanced battle rifle added rails, adjustable stocks, and shorter barrels, pushing the platform into a modern DMR niche. The rifle also saw extensive foreign production. Taiwan's Type 57 is a direct copy, and U.S. Navy ships still keep M14 aboard for line throwing. Ukraine's M14s have a slightly different route. Many went overseas decades ago through U.S. excess defense articles to Baltic partners. In 2022, those allies transferred large stocks onward to Ukraine. Open imagery through spring and summer 2022 shows both wood and fiberglass stocked rifles in territorial defense units, sometimes with optics. Reported figures from the region point to tens of thousands shipped by the Baltics, with Estonia often cited at roughly 35,000, making the M14 one of the most numerous legacy U.S. rifles to appear there, albeit via partners. M16A4 plus M203. The M16A4 traces to the Armalite AR-15 designed by Eugene Stoner in the late 1950s, with the A4 variant adopted in 1997. It is essentially an M16A2 with a flat-top upper receiver and a full-length Picatinny rail that made large-scale optics issue practical. In Marine Corps hands, that typically meant the ACOG. Mechanically, it remains a 5.56 by 45 mm NATO direct impingement rifle with a 20-inch barrel selectable for semi-automatic or 3-round burst depending on lower receiver. It served as the full-length rifle counterpart to the M4 carbine, favoring sight radius and velocity over compactness. Underslung to the rifle is the M203, a 40 by 46 mm single-shot grenade launcher developed by AAI in the late 1960s to replace the standalone M79. The breech slides forward to load, and the leaf or quadrant sights allow point fire to about 150 meters and area fire to roughly 350. Grenade natures went far beyond high explosive HEDP for light cover smoke parachute illumination, CS irritant, and even the M576 buckshot round for very close work. The pairing gave a rifleman immediate access to both precise 5.56 fire and organic explosive effects without designating a separate grenadier with a dedicated weapon. In U.S. service, the M16A4 was primarily a Marine Corps rifle through the 2010s, before the Corps standardized on the M4. In Ukraine, optics-equipped M16A4 with M203s have been documented with mechanized brigades since 2023. The United States did not publish a model-specific count. These rifles and launchers appear among 2022-2023 drawdown shipments grouped as small arms and grenade launchers likely drawn from U.S. stocks and transferred via the Poland Transit Hub. M26 Mass. The M26 modular accessory shotgun system was conceived in the late 1990s to give riflemen a compact magazine-fed 12-gauge for breaching and close tasks without the awkwardness of a pump slide beneath an M4 handguard. Designed by Ira K. and developed with Seymour Systems, it entered limited service in the early 2000s and broader Army fielding by 2011 to 2013. Its action is a manually operated straight-pull bolt with a side charging handle. The detachable 3- or 5-round magazines allow rapid swaps among buckshot slugs and dedicated breeching cartridges. A short 7.75-inch barrel carries a standoff device to keep the muzzle clear on locks and hinges. With a clamp-on stock, the M26 converts from underbarrel accessory to a compact standalone shotgun in seconds. Compared to Knight's Armament Master Key pump conversions, the straight-pull design simplified manipulation when mounted and reduced weight and bulk. Ammunition versatility made it useful to engineers and MPs for forced entry non-lethal tasks and barrier reduction at very close range while retaining the user's primary rifle. U.S. assistance to Ukraine included small batches of M26 visible in open-source imagery in 2023-2024, appearing both as underbarrel units and as standalone guns with stocks. Numbers have not been published, but the pattern suggests issue to specialized breaching elements within assault and reconnaissance units rather than general distribution. Transfers fit the wider 2022-2023 flows of small arms from U.S. stocks under drawdown authority. M4A1 plus M320. The M4 family derives from the CAR-15/XM177 lineage, refined between 1982 and 93 and adopted in 94 to give units a handier 5.56mm carbine with substantial parts commonality to the M16A2. The M4A1 variant, originally tailored for SOHCOM, substituted full automatic fire and a heavier barrel for better heat tolerance. A 14.5-inch barrel, flat-top receiver, and SOP mod-ready rail surfaces turned the carbine into a modular platform suitable for optics, white light lasers, suppressors, and underbarrel devices. Effective employment centered on mounted and urban operations, where the shorter weapon was safer in vehicles and faster in confined structures, and by the mid-2000s, it largely displaced the M16A4 in forward Army units, and eventually across the Marine Corps. Heckler & Koch's M320 grenade launcher module, an outgrowth of the AG-36, replaced the M203 in U.S. service starting in 2009. The side-opening breech accepts longer specialty rounds. A double-action trigger improves immediate-action drills, and an optional buttstock turns it into a standalone 40mm launcher with better ergonomics for some tasks. Pairing with the M4A1 preserved the modern Grenadier concept rifle first grenade launcher when needed, while making training maintenance and accessories common within the squad. Since early 2022, the United States has provided Ukraine with large quantities of 5.56mm carbines and hundreds of 40mm launchers under presidential drawdown authority. Aid documents often list categories rather than models, but field photography and unit reporting show M4A1 carbines in regular service and M320s in both underbarrel and standalone configurations. Ukrainian infantry and territorial defense units received the carbines broadly with grenade launchers concentrated at squad level to deliver smoke illumination and HE into dead ground. Mark 14 EBR. The Mark 14 enhanced battle rifle emerged from early 2000s efforts driven by naval special warfare and Crane to pull 7.62 by 51mm NATO capability back into a compact optics-ready package. Early work by Mike Rock and Jim Rebordi around 2000 to 2001 explored barrels and geometry. Ron Smith of Smith Enterprise pushed a robust configuration in 2003, and the program matured into the Mark 14 Mod 0 and subsequent configurations. A Sage pattern aluminum chassis replaced the M14's wood or fiberglass stock, adding rails, a pistol grip, and adjustable butt. The Mod 0 typically used an 18-inch barrel. The Army's EBRRI conversions in Rock Island trim often ran longer tubes and different furniture. The configuration addressed a doctrinal gap between 5.56mm carbines and bolt-action sniper rifles. At squad level, the DMR concept needed rapid, precise semi-auto fire with better reach and barrier defeat than 5.56. The Mark 14 delivered that at the cost of weight. Operators frequently criticized its forward-biased heft. A loaded rifle with optic and bipod can push near 14 pounds, and extended holds are fatiguing compared to a lightweight AR pattern. In U.S., service the rifle-equipped SEALs first, then spread to Army units, especially in Afghanistan, where engagement distances routinely exceeded 500 meters. In Ukraine, identifiable Mod 1 pattern EBRs have been documented since 2022. Quantities remain unknown, but features in photographs correct chassis hardware. Crane-style parts indicate U.S. builds rather than local clones. M110 SAS. Knights Armaments M110 semi-automatic sniper system sits in the Stoner SR-25 AR-10 lineage and entered U.S. Army service in 2008 after winning the XM110 competition. Chambered in 7.62 by 51 mm NATO with a 20-inch barrel, free-floated rail system, and quick-attach suppressor, it offered semi-auto precision and faster follow-up than the M24 bolt guns it complemented. Controls are ambidextrous. Magazines are SR-25 pattern in 10 or 20-round capacities, and accuracy standards were formalized in military performance specs using M118 LR ammunition. The Marine Corps adopted the rifle to supplant the Mark 11 and some M39 and later evolutions M110A1 C SAS/SDMR, the lighter M110A2, and 6.5mm Creedmoor M110A3 for SOH-COM kept the concept current. The military placed the M110 with sniper sections and DMR-qualified shooters who needed precision to roughly 800 meters with the ability to re-engage rapidly or shift targets under a suppressor. It bridged the gap between slow-cycling bolt rifles and 5.56mm carbines, particularly useful in Afghanistan, where long sightlines were common. Ukrainian forces have fielded M110s since late 2022, first seen around the Kherson front, and later with SBU Alpha GUR elements, National Guard units, and Special Operations Forces. As with other systems, U.S. aid sheets typically describe sniper rifles without naming models, but the KAC architecture is unmistakable in imagery. Numbers are not public, and distribution appears limited to special-purpose units, rather than general infantry, consistent with how the rifle is employed in U.S. formations. M249 SAW and Minimi. Fabrique Nationale's 1976 Minimi was a light machine gun concept scaled for 5.56 by 45 mm that the U.S. adopted in 1984 as the M249 squad automatic weapon to restore belt-fed suppressive fire at fireteam level. Gas-operated with a long-stroke piston, quick-change barrel, and open bolt firing. The M249 typically feeds from 100 or 200 round linked belts in a soft pouch, though it can accept STA-NAG magazines in a pinch. Early U.S. service saw a product improvement program that added a hydraulic buffer in the buttstock, a handguard over the hot barrel, and revised furniture. Later, Para and SPW variants trimmed weight and length for airborne and special operations use. U.S. SOH-COM's Mark 46 and 7.6 two-chambered Mark 48 extended the family. It is issued 1 or 2 per squad to generate continuous fire that pins and fixes opponents while riflemen maneuver. Sustained rates are controlled to prevent cook-offs. The quick-change barrel supports longer engagements from a position. Field users over decades reported the predictable trade-offs: excellent volume of fire and reach compared to rifles, but sensitivity to sand without disciplined maintenance. Ukraine received Minimi pattern guns from multiple sources beginning in 2022. The United States lists machine guns and small arms in drawdown packages, and Belgium has also supplied Minimis. Photographs show Ukrainian special operations and infantry elements running M249 pattern guns, sometimes with suppressors, optics, and modern belts. Detailed counts have not been released, but employment mirrors U.S. use belt-fed suppression at squad level to complement 7.62 by 54 RPKM/PKP opponents. The U.S. Army's planned replacement with the SIG M250 domestically does not affect the relevance of the M249 abroad, where parts and training ecosystems are well understood. Pistols. Early U.S. aid in March 2022 specified roughly 1,000 pistols for Ukraine without naming models. Later imagery revealed both Barrett M9s and Sig Sauer M17 in service. The M9 adopted in 1985 is the U.S. designation for the Beretta 92FS alloy frame double-action/single-action 9x19 with a 15-round magazine slide-mounted safety all-hour decocker and a chrome-lined bore. Its long tenure across services built a deep holster and accessory ecosystem to include the Bianchi M12 that was fielded alongside it. The M17 and its compact M18 counterpart entered service in 2017 as the modular handgun system derived from the highly controversial P320 with a removable fire control unit, ambidextrous manual safety, and optics-ready slide. Standard magazines hold 17 rounds with extended 21-rounders common in issue sets. Both pistols serve similar users, officer squad, and fireteam leaders, crew-served weapon personnel, and specialized elements requiring a sidearm as a secondary weapon. The M17 M18's modularity and suppressor kits better integrate with modern night fighting accessories. The M9's virtues are robustness and a long record of institutional familiarity. In Ukraine, the mixed lots reflect availability. The March 2022 batch set the baseline, and open-source reporting through 2022 shows M17s and M9s appearing with Special Operations Intelligence and Police Tactical Units. Barrett M107, M107A1. The Barrett story begins in the early 1980s with Ronnie Barrett's semi-automatic 50 BMG M82, which proved that a shoulder-fired anti-materiel rifle could be practical. International orders followed by the late 1980s. U.S. adoption of the M82A1 as the M107 came in 2005, with changes including a longer top rail. The later M107A1, introduced in 2011, shed several pounds and was engineered for suppressor compatibility by rebalancing the recoil system, adding a hydraulic buffer, and revising the bolt carrier cam path. The receiver moved from a heavy steel channel to a 7075T 6511 aluminum extrusion with a hard coat and baked-on finish, while discrete parts such as the bipod yoke and monopod rod adopted titanium to save weight. Operationally, the rifle is short recoil with a rotating bolt and 10-round detachable magazine. Barrels range 20 to 29 inches. Typical engagement envelopes put transonic transition around 1.3 to 1.5 km/h, depending on load and temperature, and skilled crews routinely push effective fire well beyond that. The iconic multi-port brake reduces felt recoil dramatically, and military use skews toward anti-materiel tasks, disabling vehicles' sensors and light fortifications at range. The U.S. approved export of M107A1 rifles and 50 BMG ammunition to Ukraine in 2017, an early signal of lethal aid. After the full-scale invasion in 2022, additional 50 cal rifles appeared under drawdown categories, such as precision rifles and anti-materiel rifles, with photographic evidence showing airborne and special operations units employing Barretts in their characteristic role. As elsewhere, model-specific counts remain undisclosed. Shotguns. Mossberg's Model 500 series began in 1961 as an affordable, durable pump action for hunters, but soon migrated to law enforcement and military users. The basic action uses dual-action bars and a tang-mounted safety. Tube magazines typically hold 6 to 8 2.75-inch shells. Early military trials revealed durability gaps for hard service, and in 1907, the Model 590 appeared with an open-ended magazine tube, and in the 590A1 configuration, a heavy barrel metal trigger guard and safety parkerized finish and a bayonet lug. That 590A1 specification remains the U.S. standard for riot gun duty. In recent decades, the platform also produced the magazine-fed 590M and the compact shockwave variant that skirts NFA classification while keeping a 14-inch barrel. As breaching tools and very short-range fighting weapons, military units employ specialized frangible shotgun slugs against locks and hinges. Buckshot or slugs serve for close defense in confined interiors. Breachers typically carry the shotgun slung while remaining rifle-centric in the stack, with compact rails and lights used for target identification. U.S. assistance in March 2022 included roughly 400 shotguns. The model was not named, but the U.S. military inventory strongly suggests Mossberg 500 Taus 590 series guns, and Ukrainian imagery shows pump actions with Mossberg's characteristic tang safety and military furniture. As with other small arms, these arrived via drawdown from U.S. stocks into the Poland corridor and onward to units where urban breaching was common. The role is narrow but essential, and the platform's simplicity and parts availability ease sustainment under field conditions. If you like what we do here, give this video a thumbs up, share it with other firearm buffs, and hit subscribe for more deep dives like this. Thanks for tuning in.